Thanks for tuning into Countdown. My name is Neeraj Chow. The next 30 minutes we'll try and wrap up the day's action and how have individual companies done. Mind you, lots of volatility in the markets and a lot of pressure as well. Banks and non-banks are falling with equal gusto, so to say. 2.5%, 9152. My guess is that not too many people anticipate any great shakes from the press conference today at 4 p.m. because the market is not giving any signs of that. Yes, it didn't give too many signs yesterday either because it came off from the highs of the day, but this is reeking of some selling pressure. All right. We had some buy calls this morning. I think those have completely been nullified. And stronger hands have fallen today. Reliance, Bharti Airtel. So the last of the bastions are kind of coming off in the session today. It's back to the global template. Even the commodities, etc., have all come off. Let's get in our technical experts on board. We can keep on talking about individual names in during the course of the show. But Brijesh Singh Johnson right now with his thoughts. Brijesh, good having you. Thanks so much for taking the time out and speaking to us. If you had a long call on the index, would you cut off the longs? Conversely, would you initiate any short positions after the fall from the highs yesterday and the 2.5% downtick today?
Good afternoon, Neeraj. See, still Nifty on a broader picture has been trading in the range of 8,800 or say 8,900 on a downside, followed by 9,500 to 9,600 on the higher side. Now, suppose someone has gone short on yesterday, I would be suggesting keep a trailing stop loss of 90 to 50 and hold on to your short. Whereas suppose someone wants to play for a fresh long side, both the call can be played as such. Suppose someone has gone short, then I would be suggesting stop loss would be 90 to 50. Whereas the someone wants to play for a long side, then I would be suggesting taking a Nifty spot value. And anything below 9,150, one can take a long position with the very, very strict stop loss of 9,080 and play for the target of 9250.
Okay, 9250. Would banks drive this upsides, Brijesh? Would you trade the bank Nifty?
See, right now, Bank Nifty as well as the Nifty IT both are dragging the market. Whereas the Bank Nifty has been concerned, the broader picture range is 18,800 on a downside, followed by 19,900 or say precisely 20,200 on the higher side. Still, there is no sign of a confirmation of a buying or nor selling, because the selling, if we look about if Bank Nifty trades somewhere at 9,500 or 6,000, then one can take a sell side in it. But whereas on the right now Bank Nifty is trading somewhere at 19,100 or say 19,105 zone. So still there is no confirmation of buying or a selling has been concerned. But trend look little bit on the bearish side as compared to the bull side has been concerned.
What are the specific stocks that you would advocate at these in these hours then, Brijesh?
See, there are two stocks, Neeraj, both on the long side. The first buy call is Bharti Infratel. Now the Bharti Infratel, if we check it out from a week time frame, somewhere around 175 onward, the stock has been consistently moving up and it's been outperforming. Now in today's session, we have seen the stock volume record has been there, with the price has been significantly increasing. So somewhere around 210 or 209, the stock has been quoting. So present rate can be used to go long with the strict stop loss of 200 rupees. Play for the target of 225, 228. Time frame to hold the counter would be 2 to 4 trading session. Another buy call is Torrent Pharma. Now in this Torrent Pharma, if we check it out, the stock has been trading in the very narrow range of 2550 or say 2600 on the higher side, followed by 2200 or 2250 on the downside. So right now 2396 the stock has been quoting. I would be suggesting presented any dip till 2370, one can take a long position in it with a very strict stop loss of 2280 and play for the target of 2540. Again, the time frame to hold the counter would be 2 to 4 trading session.
Okay. Just a quick follow-up before we get in Gurmeet in the conversation. Brijesh, Reliance and Bharti both have shown weakness. Which is looking weaker, or are they near some support levels?
Reliance is looking weak. The stock, after making a top of nearly 50-week top, touching say for 1 and 2 points, and after that it came down. So right now somewhere around 1438 the stock has been quoting. 1485 1520 are the two resistance zone. Till the stock doesn't break this level, there would be a selling pressure in it. Now immediately stock has a support at 1420 around, but the major support lies somewhere around 1370 to 1375. So I would be going for a sell side. Present rate can be used to go short in a Reliance 1435 or 36 the stock has been quoting. So one can play on a sell side with the stop loss of 1460 and play for the target of 1420. That is a smaller target, but as I have said, the major support lies somewhere around 1385 zone or say 1380. So I would be playing for 1380 with the stop loss of 1455. Regarding with the Bharti Airtel is been concerned, Bharti Airtel overall trend is been positive till stock doesn't give closing below 522. But whereas the higher side has been concerned, stock has a resistance at 552. Right now the stock is quoting at somewhere around 530 and 540. Present rate or any rise till 543 or 545, one can go on a sell side with the strict stop loss of 552. Play for the target of 520 because the oscillators are giving the lower highs formation, which has been a negative sign. So right now profit booking can be seen on Bharti. So both the stock Bharti as well as Reliance, they are looking weak. So one can play on a short side in it.
Okay, Gurmeet Chadda with us on the fundamentals. Gurmeet, always good having you. Thanks so much for taking the time out. There's weakness in telecom, Gurmeet. So is it a sign that the market is under extreme stress because even the stronger hands are coming off? Or do you believe that this is profit booking after a good rally? Would you use these dips to add on to positions, investment positions, I mean?
Neeraj, I would tend to think that it's more profit taking and considering the sharp rise we have had, both in Bharti and Reliance. My view is that near quarter you could have some disruptions due to the fact that they have extended validities. They've given a 10 rupee talk time till lockdown cutoff when it ends. The recharges would be impacted. Also, the digital recharges were about 35-40% till March. So we'll have to see how much of that has an impact at the lower end, which for Bharti is about close to 8 crore kind of a, but there'll be some offset also in terms of higher usage. So I think 1 quarter weakness can come in earnings. The Africa results were good, were fairly decent. So my view is that I maintain that sub $2 ARPU in India is not sustainable. And I'm not comparing our ARPUs with the global peers because that's probably not the right thing to do. But my sense is there will be a clear jump in ARPUs over the medium term. Even in a scenario, if Voda survives, obviously tariffs will go up. Even if Voda doesn't survive, the consolidation will happen, considering that there are 7-8 circles where Voda is quite weak. So my sense is that this is now morphing into a very different play. It's more commerce, content, and communication rather than just pure telecom play. We've seen a lot of developments happening and some of the marquee names really entering in Jio. So I think it's an exciting space to be in, and any dips are should be used to accumulate. But as I said, we are in a long haul, because the overall environment remains weak. So one wants to prepare to ride through it.
Okay, there is some Gurmeet. There is we've seen consumer staples behave very, very differently. Nestle came out with a good set of numbers. The stock has gotten punished. Maybe this overhang of some bit of sale, etc., happening there. Godrej consumer valuation is favorable, and therefore, despite a howler set of numbers, the stock is active today. How have you read into the FMCG results?
See, I think Nestle, Neeraj, we must remember that it was almost at its all-time high, probably 1 or 2% away from the all-time high. You are at probably 75 times forward earnings. So some bit of profit taking, some bit of correction, I think is healthy in my view. Also, obviously they had the best quarter. I mean, their domestic volume growth was double-digit, almost touching 11% compared to Lever, which had a drop in volume. But you should go a level 2 and you see that there's a lot of upstocking also which has happened in that period, especially in March. So that could give you the numbers in segments which Nestle operates in, can give you a slightly misleading figure. And obviously there was some bit of a margin impact due to milk and derivatives, prices going up. So my view is, I think the market is right now trying to quantify the impact, and I think they are obviously managing their supply chains and stuff better than some of the peers. There is no doubt about it. But this is my channel checks. I think we are still gradually improving. It's not that you'll have another quarter of 10-11% volume growth. That doesn't look likely, and considering the valuation, it had to get. Godrej Consumer, on the other hand, you're right, maybe some bit of a safe haven kind of a parking happening. But even in their essentials, like the low ticket, low value items like soaps and hair color, they had issues. So I'm not too sure about Godrej Consumer. I think it was quite a poor performance.
Okay. By the way, the other question is some of these companies managing to do some digital sales, the likes of Maruti, etc. Any thoughts on Maruti, or Tata Motors decided that they are going to open some of their plants globally? Any thoughts here, Gurmeet?
Neeraj, we are probably at a price point where we are in a neutral zone as far as four-wheelers are concerned. I genuinely believe, and we have had that discussion, that personal mobility will change. Probably my sense is that it will start more with two-wheelers. So I'm a little more comfortable with the two-wheeler names, considering the fact that rural will recover faster than urban. I think that trend is very, very visible. The crop has been pretty decent, Neeraj. I think even there are expectations of normal monsoon. I think, and the government will give bulk of the cash transfer at the lower end. So my sense is two-wheeler looks better. Bajaj Auto in particular, I think their strategy of catering to the entry segment, also catching the premiumization trend. Look at their cash flows. Those are probably it's 4 times their fixed cost. That gives you a bit of a comfort that balance sheet remains strong. The free cash flow yield is, I think, in double digit, 10-11%. Lot of innovation happening. I've personally visited one of their centers in Pune, and I personally quite liked it. So I think if I were to bet on more a medium-term trend, I would probably start with Bajaj Auto. In bargain deals, I might just want to look at Ashok Leyland or something, because the price points are telling you that probably the worst seems to be there at $40-50. Probably the 80-90% of the worst news is in the price.
Okay, I want to take some queries now because some of these are pertinent considering that the stocks are very, very active. Some technical views, some fundamental views. Nitin Thakur is asking for a view on Aurobindo Pharma. Nitin, I'm presuming you're asking for a technical view, so I'll ask Brijesh Singh this quick question. Brijesh, any thoughts on Aurobindo Pharma?
See, Aurobindo Pharma has seen a rally from a level of 600 odd level, and after the stock making high of 700, stock is seen a profit booking. Now, I would be suggesting wait the stock till it moved down below 650, then your risk reward ratio would be in your favor. Buy around 650 with a strict stop loss of 620 zone, and look for the target of back to 700 or 710 in a shorter term time frame.
Okay, so that's the view on Aurobindo Pharma. Now, a technical view on Cipla and Sun Pharma as well. Brijesh.
See, Cipla has a twice runaway gap, and stock has a resistance at 585 and 610 odd level. And whereas the support has been concerned, stock has a support at 560 zone. But I'm not assuming that 560 would be hold. So here I would be playing on a sell side with a stop loss of 585 and play for the target of somewhere around 545 to 550. So one can go on a sell side with Cipla. Regarding with Sun Pharma, it's been concerned till stock doesn't give closing above 465. I would be assuming it's in a range, but whereas the downside has been concerned, it has a minor support at 450. So oscillators on a hourly chart are a little bit tired. So I would be playing a contra call here, sell with the stop loss of 465 for the target of 448 or 445.
Okay, I think I'm told Sachitanand Uttekar also joining in, and one of the technical queries, Sachitanand, is on Prestige Estates. Ajay Kumar is asking Prestige Estates. Any thoughts here?
Neeraj, the structure has been weak. There's no second thought about it. But if you look at the support base, clearly it has been defined at around 150, 145 zones. The stock is oscillating near to that base. So probably if he's holding on to this particular stock on a hope, then I would say that, keep a stop loss of 145 on a closing basis. And just review the stock in case if you see a bounce back in the stock, and if you see this levels of around 185, 200 coming back. So probably that could be an exit rally for this particular stock. But as of now, it is clearly near the support base. So probably one can hold it. And the recommendation is not to average it, but look for an exit opportunity once we see a bounce back.
Okay. Gurmeet, there is a question asking for a view on IT stocks. Now, did you have a chance to look at what Gartner had to say? And that's brought about a bit of a pullback into those names early morning today. What is your thought? Would it be a short-lived weakness, or can IT stocks, I mean, if somebody has IT stocks, should one get them out of the portfolio, or conversely buy them into the portfolio if one doesn't have?
So Neeraj, can't paint everyone with the same brush. I think we've seen that even with the numbers which have come in. We saw NIT Tech, even in mid-cap space, the general sense was that they will struggle and the larger names will tend to probably, maneuver better in these times. But we saw NIT Tech numbers being decent. I thought even Mafas's number looked okay to me. So, you have to see how closely, these guys, navigate in these times. I also believe that the digitization will get accentuated. So a lot of digital transformation plays, even in some of the non-traditional sectors which are core to them right now in terms of revenue breakup, could spring a bit of a surprise. So you have to take it, company by company. I agree that the spending will come down, and which is quite logical. Amongst large cap, I think one can look at Infosys and HCL Tech. I think HCL Tech in particular, I was quite impressed by the overall commentary numbers as well. Stock is reasonable vis-a-vis the larger ones. I mean, it gives you 11, 12 kind of a multiple, which is not very expensive. IT would be steady. It will not be a material outperformer. I don't see IT really also coming under a lot of pressure considering right now the mood in the market. So you should be selective. So for me, if I were to look at it, probably I would look at HCL and Infi to park and use any corrections to gradually add.
Okay, viewers, now remember there is a press conference at 4 p.m. today as well, but clearly the market activity tells you that the market is just not convinced about any kind of major market supporting moves coming in from the government. So I think that's the bit of a problem. The other bit is, I think Europe is under a bit of pressure, and I think that is adding. The flip side is that since morning, the US futures have been kind of slightly positive after 2 or 3 days of a gash. I mean, a lot of eminent US market watchers gave out warnings in yesterday's US session, and as a result of which the stocks came off quite rapidly yesterday to 2.5% to 2.17% for the Dow Jones yesterday. But likely that in today's session there might be a bit of some bit of stalling of that selling, and maybe that might help the market sentiment. But currently Europe starting off the way it has as well is also probably adding to the pressure. The other thing is I'm just looking at some stocks which are interestingly coming off. I mean, Bajaj Finance, if I can just pull that one up, it was actually in the green at the start of the trading day. It's now down about 3%. Day's high is 2258. Currently the stock is 2099. So almost everything related to NBFCs or banking or financials has just completely given way in the session today. Never mind the upgrades that have come in from brokerages or otherwise. But IT is that big gorilla in the room, which is really cracking. Tech Mahindra down 5%, Infosys down about 5% as well. And some of the others too have looked slightly wobbly. Okay. Well, we've spoken at length about a lot of losers. It's time to get in some closing strategies from our experts first. Sachidanand, we'll take in your index strategy in a bit. If you can give us your stock specific strategy, your top closing strategy today.
Well, Neeraj, as we were discussing, IT is somewhere the pressure is, and probably, if you look at the structure of NIT Tech, which looks very promising that we may see one leg on the lower side. So if you look at the overall structure, the stock has been oscillating near its 200-day exponential moving average, which was placed somewhere close to 1420, and it was not able to sustain or surpass that. And in fact, we saw it slipping below its 5-day short-term averages. So we are expecting that there could be pressure going forward in this particular counter. A good amount of unwinding has already happened. So fresh shorts can be still initiated. The stop loss for the trade should be placed at 1390 on the futures. We're expecting a move towards 1255, 1270 kind of a zone. So it's short NIT futures with a stop loss of 1390 and a final target of 1255. On the long side, Ultratech Cement, the 60-minute structure is very promising. We are seeing a breakout from a cup and handle formation. Expecting a price movement on the positive side towards 3730 on the futures. The stop loss for the trade should be placed at 3520.
Okay. So do watch out for those. What about you, Brijesh? Your top closing strategy would be?
See, as you have talked about the IT, then one more IT counter would be Infosys. Now, Infosys has broken its previous swing low of 664 or 665. So I would be going on a sell side somewhere around 660 around the stock has been quoting. So keep a stop loss 668. Go for a sell side for the target of 645. And another sell call would be from a defensive tech, that is a Biocon, that is looking weak with increase in volume. It has moved down somewhere 335, 330, 35 and a half. The stock has been quoting. So present rate can be used to go on a sell side with a strict stop loss of 342. Play for the target of 325 to 327 zone.
Okay. It's interesting that we're seeing some price action in names. So I want to talk about a couple of winners before I get to Gurmeet for a fundamental call. Jubilant Life. Actually, we'll talk about that fundamentally. Jubilant Life, let it be. Z. It's showing an uptick of 3% on a day when the markets are down 3%. Sachidanand, any thoughts here?
Well, the stock has always surprised. In fact, if you look at the structure, there's nothing weak on the structure. And if you look at the data as well, I think 180 remains as a very firm resistance for the stock. But currently, the way it is placed, probably we may see one more day of uptick towards 180, 185 kind of a zone. So won't be surprised if this particular move continues even tomorrow. The stop loss for the trade should be placed at 163 on a closing basis, and 180, 185 could be the review zone.
Okay, interesting. So watch out for this one as well. Sachidanand saying that maybe there could be one more leg of upside. Now, Gurmeet, Jubilant Life, that Gilead deal has gotten this stock on a bit of a roll. 5% yesterday, 5% today. Have you tried to analyze what could that deal mean for companies like Jubilant Life?
Neeraj, we have to be, obviously there was other news of, Gilead also doing ties with some more names. So you have to be a little careful only on, one particular deal happening. Obviously, if it happens, it will be material. In fact, in Q3 numbers also, the weak LSI performance was a little muted. So I would be a little watchful. I'm a little more comfortable with the API space, especially like a Divi's Labs. No issues with the regulator. 10-year kind of supply agreements with most marquee names and validation from premium clients. Good mix of generics and CRAMS for them. And something like a good business which is a hybrid model, some domestic, some API, some US generics. I think those are the models I'm more keen on. Nipca there, and some of the other names, a Torrent. So I'm more comfortable with what I understand more clearly fundamentally rather than doing something on news. And if I were to buy today, I would still continue to buy DVs despite the fact that you're getting it at probably 2300 kind of levels.
Okay. So that's the pertinent point, and I think there's an article on our website BloombergQuint.com which speaks about how these stocks, what would these deals mean for some of these companies. And I think Gurmeet is right. You have to be a bit watchful about what these deals mean for each of these names. So be mindful of all of that. Now, what has come off a little bit is Tata Power. And Gurmeet, what did you make of these announcements yesterday? And do any of the power companies which have had a bit of a rally and then cooled off today, are any of those worth investing in?
Neeraj, Tata Power has always intrigued me. I think even a year back, you would have thought probably, that there is intrinsic value, and somehow the always the price action doesn't seem to suggest so. So in that, I like NTPC, Neeraj. I think you're probably getting it at 0.7 book value, even lesser than the replacement cost. If you see the last year commercialization they've done about 5.3 gigawatts. Which I think was commendable, the largest ever they have done in a fiscal year. This year, obviously, they had plans of 5 gigawatts. I think it will get delayed. But even if they were to do, let's say, 60% of that, and considering the fact that last year's, things will add through, I still expect, the earnings to come through by 8 to 10% more. Also, they are these regulated entities are slightly more insulated. So where they lose out is because it's more on if you see the model, it's more on make available and operating of plants, and the impact comes more through the PLF, which is the performance factor, which has an impact of slightly lesser amount on the overall earnings. What probably the stock is probably getting disappointed is the waiver of some charges, probably there's news of which is the late payment fees which they get and other stuff. But in terms of pure valuation play, in terms of how it is fundamentally placed right now, I think NTPC looks the best to me from a risk reward perspective.
Gurmeet, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for taking the time out and being with us today.
Thank you.
A chart check on Bajaj Finance, because that was looking the strongest. NBFC is looking weak right now. Sachitanand, 2111 on Bajaj Finance.
Well, Neeraj, in fact, the way I'm looking at the structure, we have already seen a breakout from a falling wedge formation, and falling wedge at the fag end of the rally is always positive. We have seen that uptick in the last two trading sessions. Probably if you look at the price action in detail, it looks like yesterday's gap is getting filled. So I won't be surprised that the stock may just start consolidating here. But for me, the bias on this particular counter remains positive from here on. We don't expect the stock to come off below 1960 soon. So probably it's a very good accumulation. It's placed in an accumulation zone. So clearly a buy candidate for me. 1960 is the stop loss, and we're expecting a move towards say 2400, 2600 kind of a zone.
Okay, watch out for that one. Some mid-sized names, I think the one that has been active, some of the liquor names are very active today. Brijesh, any thoughts? United Spirits, United Breweries?
See, if someone wants to play in the liquor, then Radico Khaitan is always looking promising to me. 328, 330 is a upper side band, whereas 283 or 285 is a downside support. And today's session volume record has been there in it. Somewhere around 313 the stock has been quoting. So I would be going on a long side with the stop loss of 297. Play for the target of 328 to 330. If we are giving closing our 330, then the next level to watch on the higher side would be 350. So Radico Khaitan look little bit promising as compared to United Spirits or United Breweries has been concerned.
I think the NBFC rally is completely fizzled away. M&M Financial is down about 5%. L&T Finance Holdings is down about 5%. So Chola Fin is down about 6% as well. So clearly the pressure on some of these NBFCs is very, very visible. What else? What about manufacturing? And wondering if BHEL, Larsen and Toubro, etc. And what is it that those stocks are doing in the session today? I think that would be the other interesting list that you have to monitor. My internet is just playing a bit of a trick with me. Please give me a second. Maybe Sachidanand, I don't know. I can't quite get the price of Larsen and Toubro. Can you help me out with that? How does the chart looking here?
Well, the chart looks very interesting. In fact, the stock has managed to surpass its yesterday's high, which was placed at around 873 on futures. Currently, it is placed at around 879. So clearly, there is some positivity which is depicted in the price action. Probably even from a trading perspective, some longs can be added here. We are looking at a very positive setup wherein the RSI has managed to sustain above the 50 mark on the daily scale. So it's a clear sign of fresh momentum getting built in the counter. The stop loss for the trade should be placed at somewhere close to 860. And the move can unfold towards say 900, 915 very quickly. So I think it's in that long quadrant, and some fresh trades on the long side should be considered in L&T.
Okay, Jaman, stay on. We'll very quickly wrap up the day's trade. We've discussed the large caps at length. I want to mark 2 or 3 very weak names. HDFC Bank has looked very, very weak. Reliance has looked weak. And I think as a result of that, the indices have come off so much. Now we're waiting for the press conference. Remember, viewers at 4, and you need to tune in for that. The markets may not expect too much, but you never know. There could be a surprise rabbit that could be pulled out of the hat. Hero MotoCorp has gained about 2.5. So that is something that you have to also monitor in the session today. And HUL has ended marginally in the green, but the key movers could well be at the BSE Midcap Index, some broader names. So Federal Bank is back in the gaining list, about 5% higher. AU Small Finance Bank, which has lost about 50% YTD, is up about 5% in the session today. Adani Power stays higher, but not about 9-10%, just about 3.5%. And Whirlpool, United Breweries, United Spirits, Colgate Palmolive, all of those have done reasonably okay. What has not done well? are these financials? Chola Finance, L&T Finance Holdings, M&M Financial, LIC Housing Finance, IDFC First Bank, that entire bucket has been taken to the cleaners. The final thoughts from our experts though, one pocket that we didn't discuss today, and Brijesh, metals was very active yesterday, has come off today. What do the charts indicate?
See, regarding with the metal index has been concerned, as I was been looking, whether that be Tisco or JSW Steel or SAIL has been concerned. Regarding with the metal index has been concerned, first of all, let me tell you, 1857, 1860 is a higher band resistance presently, followed by 1670 on a downside. A gap down opening has been witnessed in it, so immediately till metal index doesn't trades above 1755, we might be feeling a selling pressure in it. So it's on a sell side. Regarding with that, Tisco looks weak to me till it trades below 280. One can play on a sell side in it, somewhere around 260 as the stock got closed. So keeping a stop loss of 280, play for the target of 245 to 240 in coming days to see.
Okay. Sachitanand, what's your index view? Because we've ended so low. How does this shape us up for the next 2 days? Because this morning people were talking about support at 9200 and going long, and for a while it played out. But I mean, then we've broken that quite convincingly.
Well, Neeraj, in fact, Nifty has closed below 9200 for the first time since it has been oscillating within this particular range of 9000, 9400. It has been locked in this particular range, and 80% of the action has been around this zone of 9250 to 9150. And probably this is the first time wherein the index is decisively closed below 9200. And in fact, 9150 was the critical level, and it has closed below that. But if you look at some of the oscillators, they are still indicating that this particular range-bound action could continue. So I think taking a bullish bet right now may not be an apt strategy. But even if you look at some of the shorting signals are not very clear, so probably we may see this particular range-bound action getting continued for the coming week as well. 9,000, 9,050 remains as a good support zone. But on the higher side, probably 9,400 has been acting as a very, very strong resistance. So it will be very interesting to see if this particular resistance is getting breached in the coming week. In case if we fail to do that, then probably the bears will again take control and probably push the indices lower. So I think it is still in that wait and watch mode. In case if we see a break above 9,400, then probably that long journey should continue. But yes, closing has been critical today, and it has closed below 9,200 after a very long time. I think almost after 15 trading sessions, it has been a negative closing. I would consider this as a negative closing.
Let's wait and watch if today's press conference can actually deliver some positivity. I think time will tell. But gentlemen, both of you, thank you so much for taking the time out and being with us today and giving us your thoughts. And viewers, thanks for tuning into this leg of Countdown. Remember, tune in at 4 p.m. when the finance minister speaks. We'll be here with the whole press conference and then an analysis of the same.